Chase Thomas podcast. My nephew needs me to record. See, I already hate it. I hate it.
All right, hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Chase Thomas podcast from still the aforementioned Chase Thomas, coming to you live from Knoxville, Tennessee, Everything School HQ. Joining me from Saturday Down South, it's Ethan Stone. Ethan, good evening, sir. How are you?
I'm doing well. It felt great outside today. I did a whole bunch outside, did some yard work, and now I'm ready to live in a post-Nico Tennessee world and talk some ball.
Look at him out here doing yard work. Are we talking are we some shrubbery planting? Like what are we doing here? Are we doing some home makeover? Are you using the saw machine to build some boards? Are you board building, Ethan Stone?
Not quite. I'm attacking my lawn because when we bought our house, the people that put in the sod, they could not have done a worse job. And obviously I was still in South Carolina, so we were going back and forth, and they put in the sod and then they just didn't bother to water it. So my front lawn looks pretty ratchet. So I've been trying to nurse it back to life for the past month now.
The sod at the Stone home is just it's not panning out. You just can't have it. Like, many forget that the sod is the first thing people see. Like, if your sod's not under control, the whole house is just completely out of whack. You gotta maintain the sod.
Like, it's not even a joke. The house looks dreadful from the street. It's by far.
Oh my God, I gotta see this now. I'm kind of like, I want to drive by Ethan's house. That whole thing is like, this is how you live? Are we gonna be like Hillary Clinton in that meme where she walks in the apartment?
When I walk outside in the morning, I'll take a picture and send it to you guys. It's shocking. I'm not kidding. It's the worst in the neighborhood. It looks terrible.
This is awesome. I've never heard anyone just be like, yeah, it's awful.
It's terrible. Ruins the look.
You don't want to see it. It's terrible.
Get it on my side. I don't want to see.
It's an abomination.
Move to Heritage. Also here, Rocky Top Insider's Ryan Schumpert, who doesn't have that problem because he doesn't have a house.
Chase's lead in to the show was, here's Ryan Schumpert, who is a poor. But I do have a problem in the same vein of Ethan. It was so nice outside today, so I spent a good bit of time outside, and now my allergies are just destroying me. So I'm fighting allergies. I'm fighting my Rory McIlroy hate. I'm fighting Justin Steele, Tommy John surgery. So it's a lot of battles.
It's a lot of battles.
It's a lot of battles. It's today is the version of the meme that's like the stick figure person, or like the silhouette of the head, and then the speak bubble, and it's inside the head it's like sports team I support forces or suffers a minor setback, speech bubble, life is meaningless. That's kind of the wavelength that I've been on today.
I mean, they're still in first place. Let's settle down here, Ryan. They're still in
first place on April 14th. It means nothing.
Look, many say that if you're locked in number one in the NL Central on April 14th, it's smooth sailing from here on out. It's smooth sailing. But
this is to that point, and this I'll give you a good transition. A very funny moment on Friday night. I was sitting here at my desk after a Tennessee baseball game, working on some stuff on that, but the game was over, so I flipped it over to the Cubs, who were playing the Dodgers, and one of my buddies from UT, who was a big Dodgers fan, texts me, and he's like, what the heck is going on with Nico, or something like that? What's the deal with Nico? And me, naturally, I'm like, he's spending his Friday night, obviously, watching the Cubs-Dodgers game as a Dodgers fan. And I was like, did Nico Horner get hurt? What's going on with Nico? Did I miss something? And they're like, oh, yeah, Nico Iamaleava. Yeah, no, that makes a lot more sense.
Not Nico Horner. That was not the intent there.
It was not Nico Horner. He was not spending his Friday night watching the Cubs-Dodgers in April and texting me about Nico Horner, like maybe not being in the lineup or something.
It's a big deal, too. No offense to Nico Horner. It's like Tony Basilio. It's one of my favorite things he does is he'll say something really mean, and he's like, no offense. Like, the way he says it always cracks me up. No offense, though. It's one of those great things where people just say, like, no offense. It's like that prelude before something offensive is about to be said. It's just, no offense.
My favorite is Tate Frazier at the Ringer. He's one of my favorite college basketball guys, and he has the one where he'll just be like dogging a guy. It'll be like, I just don't see how it's going to work with him as your lead guard. I don't see how Memphis is going to be able to make a run in the tournament with Javon Quinterly as their lead guard. And I like the guy. He just throws it and I like the guy once he gets done ripping him. or being critical of him.
Like, what do you want me to say? I like the guy.
Like, you can trust my opinion on it. I like the guy. I'm not out to get him.
He can't help you. He can't help you. He's like, he can't play. But I like the guy. But if he's your best player, you have problems. But could not say enough good things about the guy.
Great kid. Great family.
Well, this is a natural lead-in because it's just been a crazy weekend here in Tennessee football history. Like, it's one for the ages. I was talking to Matt last night on a Pod Divided, and one of the things that I don't know if you guys thought it was the same, of just how jarring it was that Tennessee has like a lot of positive buzz coming out of a story like this, where every other instance it just feels like everyone's just taking shots at Tennessee and how they handle things. And whenever Tennessee becomes they're the main character in a national college football story, it doesn't feel like it ever goes well for Tennessee. It doesn't feel like it's one that Tennessee comes out of looking better. But this time, Tennessee looks better. Like, Tennessee came out where like everyone's writing stories of like, Tennessee stood their ground. Tennessee, great stuff from Josh Heupel, all class. Tennessee, the orange and white game, they come out and they just get back on track. And Miles Kitselman and Arian Carter are leading the charge. That leadership is still strong. Tennessee is gonna keep it was kind of jarring to me of just like, I didn't even get to really think about, because I don't think it's real that Nico's gone yet. It doesn't feel like Nico's just out of the building. I mean, he has to still officially enter the portal and all that, but just because it's spring, it's April 14th, it doesn't just feel like, and it's not like the NFL where it's like there's a trade or like a roster cut. You're like, all right, we're moving on. It just doesn't, I don't know if y'all feel the same, but it doesn't feel like it's hit me that he's actually not going to be quarterback one this year. It's just really bizarre because it just, I don't know how to fully articulate this, but I mean, the thing that stood out to me, and I don't know if it's been the same for y'all, but like, just that Tennessee I have not seen the "what's Tennessee doing" take passed around here since this all started from that On3 story on Thursday.
Yeah, they're few and far between. Verbal meme here. Josh Heupel, Highlander, is that the guy's name in the boys show?
Yes.
The superhero?
Yes.
Josh Heupel signing a recruit across the campus to be the future of, or across the country to be the future of his program, solely with money being the only thing driving his decision, when the same recruit leaves just because of money and everybody sides with him. Just all right, yeah,
yeah,
nice. Like, arguably the biggest move of Josh Heupel's Tennessee tenure, absolutely backfiring on him, and everybody siding with him, which just shows how horribly Nico's camp has played this from a PR standpoint, and how well Heupel did what everybody's like. Heupel handled it great. He has handled it great. He's done exactly what he should have done. But it is funny that his riskiest decision probably at Tennessee, or at least one of his biggest ones, completely backfired and is getting nothing but positive PR from it.
I will say, though, the part of the reason that you're getting the positive buzz right now is because you have 4.5 months until Tennessee kicks off at Mercedes-Benz on August 30th against Syracuse. You have that goodwill and you have that rally the troops mentality right now. But if Tennessee goes 8-4, 7-5, and like takes a significant step back, like that's when it matters. Like, this is all good right now that everyone's behind you, and but the reality is, it's not like the pros where you can make a trade where it's like, oh, okay, contract dispute. All right, we're gonna move this guy for 3 first-round picks. We're gonna move Nico for a plug-and-play transfer. Like, that's not how this is gonna work. Like, you don't have someone right there. Like, you have 2 scholarship quarterbacks, one of which is a true freshman, and one is a redshirt freshman, and we'll see what Tennessee does this week out of the gate here in the transfer portal, but I mean, that's when it ultimately matters. Like, there's a lot of goodwill right now for Heupel, but it's like, I think the expectation is still that, like, hey, we're used to winning a lot here, and it's still like, we feel like we're in a really good place right now. The basketball and baseball team are in a really good place. Lady Vols are charging. it's one of those where if you fall off a little bit and like because you don't have a quarterback or because Jake has to go through just a learning curve here and he might eventually be the guy, but if he's thrown to the fire and you lose some games that you may not have lost otherwise because you're working in a green quarterback, I mean, it's not the era we live in anymore. You don't get that like 3-year outlook. It's like Hugh Freeze is on the hot seat. I was talking about that with Matt too last night. It's like you ran it back with Peyton Thorne in back-to-back years. You know what you had in year 1 and you ran it back. Like you can't do that in this era. And then in year 3, you're going to bet maybe your entire tenure on Jackson Arnold, who got benched in the Tennessee game. Like that's like that could go down with the ship. You don't get year 4 to build a program like that in the portal era to just like gradually build this thing up. It's like I don't think that's how it works. So I still think there's a lot of pressure on Heupel months from now to get this thing back. And he won the weekend, but I would pause for folks like, oh, this is great stuff and everything else. I'm like, it still comes down to winning games. It still comes down to what this offense looks like in the fall, because ultimately this is, I think it's fair to say, like, this was still looming in December. Like, this was still something that you were like, okay, well, we'll see. But like, your 5-star quarterback, the guy who you spent all spring getting quarterback 1 reps, is gone. Like that's the reality. And you have nothing to show for it right now. All those reps, you have nothing to show for it. Spring practice is over. Like you said, the orange and white game, and now you're just going to summer ball and we'll see who they bring in here. But I don't know. That's where I'm at with all of it. So, I mean, it's a TBD for me.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's a great point, because I think people will be understanding of like a little bit of a step back, but still, to your point, the first time they lose a game that theoretically they would have won with Nico, everybody's going to be very, very upset. So I think that's a great perspective on it, that they won the weekend, but at the end of the day, they'll probably, I do think, have a little bit of leeway in the fall.
I think you have 8-4 leeway. I don't think you have 7-5 leeway. I think 7-5 is a disaster class. Like, I think this is not good. 7-5, 6-6 is like, oh no. Like the train is off the tracks. Like it's that kind of situation.
Yeah, and I feel there's enough. I mean, obviously, like you said, you have no idea what Tennessee's going to do. You have no idea who's going to be Tennessee's starting quarterback next year. If you go in with Merklinger and you go 7-5, that kind of speaks to your point that I agree with you that people are still going to be disappointed with that, despite the fact that everything you just said. You lose your starting quarterback. Everyone's just going to say, well, why wasn't Merklinger ready? Why weren't you able to go get somebody in the portal? Now, I think he will be able to, for what it's worth. The real question is, who's it going to be? Is it going to be Ty Simpson? Is it going to be Haynes King? Is it going to be, who knows? There's just, it's kind of a weird situation. I think exactly what you said that was perfect was just that no one's talking about is spring's over. You're not going to have a very long or a big amount of time to fix this. Like Heupel's being asked to do a lot in not a lot of time, in a highly tumultuous time for college football. It's definitely going to be a chaotic next couple 4 or 5 months.
Well, again, like part of it is like into Ryan's point about like the Homelander reference from The Boys, where he's just like because he's the guy who also brought in Nico. It's like, this is on you, kind of. Like, you whiffed. Like, this is a whiff.
Yeah,
like that's the other part. You can't, like, you can still appreciate what Heupel has done to this point in Tennessee, and also say, like, you whiffed here. Like, this was a huge investment at the most important position in the sport, and you whiffed. Like, regardless of the circumstances of that whiff, this is a zero-sum game. Like, the whole point is for Nico to come in and make a lot of money and play exceptional football for you at the quarterback position. And he will never have done that at the University of Tennessee. Like, that is now never going to happen. And you invested several $1 million over the last 2 years, or 3 years really, and it didn't happen. Like, it's just gone. So you have nothing to show for it. And then you look at the Joe Milton era. Like, Joe Milton was your pick in the spring portal window when you first arrived. And Hendon Hooker was not a Joe Milton, or was not a Josh Heupel guy. Like, it was a circumstantial type deal, and Hendon Hooker became Tennessee's best quarterback of this century, and very grateful for Hendon Hooker. I'm like the biggest Hendon Hooker guy. That all being said, I mean, that's my biggest worry, I guess, is that Heupel has now missed the quarterback has missed on his two guys here at Tennessee. Like the guy who has got him to this prominence and been responsible for the rise in Tennessee football was a Pruitt-Cheney guy. And it all worked out, and Hooker was and Heupel deserves credit for Hooker being a great fit for his offense and developing Hooker into the kind of Heisman type guy he became. But I think it is kind of like an eyebrow raising situation now of like, okay, well, now you got Jake here. Jake's another one of your guys. Like, is Jake going to take the ball and run with it? Is it going to be George? Is it going to be Faison down the line? I mean, I think you have to completely throw out the Faison part of this because of the era that we're in, and we have to see what this offense and this team looks like, because things can change in a hurry in recruiting. So if like the offense falls off a cliff, or they don't go deep in the portal for a starter or whatever, and they just roll with Jake, like there's just so many different ways this can still go for Tennessee. But I do think it's kind of that's something we should talk about, is that like there's Tennessee. The Hooker circumstance is just kind of wild because it was just very lucky, very random. And I don't know, in this era, does Hooker stay? And if that all happens when he commits, when he does, and the coaching change, do you think Hooker would have stayed in 2025 under the same world we're living in now that he did in 2021? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you can't say for sure. I think he would have, because I think most people... wasn't like no one was leaving Tennessee at that time. Everybody was leaving Tennessee.
Yeah.
It wasn't like that was some...
But he committed to a different coach is what I'm saying. It's just like no one would have blamed him if he had left at that point.
Yeah, that's my point. Nobody would have blamed him in 2021 when he left. So
yeah.
It's not like this was 1995 and it's like, oh, people just didn't leave then, even when the coaching change happened.
Yeah.
You can't say for sure because, maybe somebody would turn a bunch of NIL money at him, but that doesn't seem entirely likely either, given how he'd played at Virginia Tech. But no, I think you're right. I do think Heupel deserves credit for winning 10 games with the team last year when the quarterback play wasn't great. Like, it's not like he's just been a Hendon Hooker merchant. His offense kind of has, but Tennessee as a team has not been. But no, I think you're right. I think that's a huge question. And certainly the point I think we're both in agreement on, and I don't know about Ethan, it's like, I don't feel bad for Heupel. Like, this was a risk that you took, and this guy came to Tennessee because of the money. And so when he leaves because of the money, like, I don't feel bad for you. You knew that this was part of what this was a possibility. You were dancing with the devil here, and it backfired on you in the end. I don't think, and Heupel's not trying to play victim, but I don't think you can now play victim if things don't go well this year. It's just like, oh man, we lost Nico when we did, and certainly I don't think Nico went about it well. And there's criticism for Nico's camp, I think, is very, very well deserved. But that doesn't mean that Heupel is just completely in the right with everything either.
Not to mention, and I would agree with you for what it's worth. It's kind of crazy to say it, but I would agree with you, especially because something I feel like no one's mentioned apart from Josh Pate when he reported it the other day. If it's true that Nico genuinely thought about holding out from a playoff game, like Heupel, that's got to raise some red flags right there, man. Like, you got to be like, look, if this guy's willing to do that, who's to say he's not going to do it at the start of spring practice? Who's to say? And I'm not saying that Heupel should have just, been prescient and just known that from the start, but you got to have a bit of a backup plan. And if Merklinger doesn't end up being the guy, and Heupel doesn't feel that he's going to be the dude leading the team, which for what it's worth, I don't think he will be, that speaks to that even more, because then you got three guys, Milton, Iamaleava, and then him showing that he doesn't quite have trust in Merklinger to bring to lead the team next season. I feel like that in and of itself, that's like, okay, I'm not trying to say Heupel sucks as an evaluator or anything like that, but like, you got to have a bit of a plan for this, especially in this era. Like, it's hard for people to feel bad for you, kind of like Ryan has said before.
Well, it's also like this is why the spring portal window is so stupid. Because it should just be like, we should have all like come to like that whole like, oh, what's Heupel, like what's Nico, is Nico going to get a raise in December, like after the playoff run and all that. And it's like, you come to the terms in the offseason, the season ends, you decide as a team, like, are we going to do it? Yes or no? Okay, no. Then you move on, and then you go in the portal and you bring somebody, or you're like, okay, we're betting on he'll be worth $4 million next year. Like, we're betting on him making that jump, and we'll do it. Either understandable if you go either way there. But like, having two negotiating windows is stupid. Like, it sucks for the coaches. It sucks for the staff. It sucks for the collectives. It sucks for the players too, because now they're in these awkward positions where it's like, if something happens and they're their value changes to the team. It's like it's in their best interest because of the system that we're in to try and renegotiate and to do all that. So I don't know. Just the whole thing just stinks. And I think it's one of those just, we got to fix this. But the first one is just like the spring portal window has got to be done, because this does not happen if you get rid of the spring portal window. Because it's like there's no, oh, he's not get, like, you just know at a certain point, like, this is the team. You are either in or you're out, and let's move forward. Because these two windows is insane, because it's not about like two transfer portal windows. The problem is these are two negotiating windows. And that's just an insane strain to put on a football staff with 90 plus kids. And I don't know. I don't like the system, and I don't like the situation that Tennessee and also Nico was forced into, kind of. Like, I feel bad for Nico in a lot of ways. Him personally and the situation that he's in. And I don't know. I think it just sucks, but I will say, to kind of like get our first big point here in this, Ryan, because this is something that I've been pushing back on. And part of what is interesting to hear, the national focus, is like when on one hand they are rallying around Heupel and Tennessee and taking a stand, this and the other, but then in the same breath, a lot of people I've seen be like, oh, Tennessee's going to be like the season that is 6-6, 7-5. Like, this is going to railroad. Like, what are they going to do without Nico? This, that, and the other. And I'm like, FanDuel went down to 8.5. Like, it was only one win down from before Nico. So that's even without adding anybody from the portal.
But I think that's the expectation. Somebody's going to get added from the portal.
I don't, but you don't know who, though. Like, that's the whole thing. It's like, it depends on who it is. Like, I just think you have to look at it as who it is, because Tennessee is absolutely capable right now of adding someone who was better than Nico Iamaleava in 2024. That player is absolutely out there as a sitting power 4 starter. And I don't know if they end up getting somebody in that. We'll have to see here over the next week. But I think that's absolutely in play, that Tennessee has a better quarterback in 25 than they did in 24. Now, that's not to say Nico could have been better than the guy they bring in 2025, or Nico is better than who he was in 24. There's also a scenario where he's not. Like, Nico just doesn't evolve into a Heisman type guy, and he's closer to what he was last year. And you won 10 games. And the other part of it is the schedule hasn't changed. The defense hasn't changed. The running game hasn't changed. Like, a lot of the stuff that you liked about this team beforehand, the reason that they were tied with Alabama, Texas, and Georgia beforehand, with 9.5 wins at the top of the SEC, was their defense, their consistency, and their schedule. Like, their schedule is still great. And I don't think Tennessee is really going to have to fight and claw their way to 6-6 and 7-5. I think this feels more like an 8-4, 9-3 situation now. But I think the doom and gloom in terms of like what this means for Tennessee, I think there's a disconnect, because as the three of us watched every snap of Nico Iamaleava last year, he was okay. Like, he was better from the second half of the Alabama game on, but it wasn't like Tennessee was thriving under elite quarterback play to win football games. And they show that they can win football games with below average quarterback play, and they could absolutely do so again next year. So I think that's been a little bit hyperbolic, but I don't know if you agree. Do you think that Tennessee will ultimately be worse without Nico in 2025? Or do you think there is a strong possibility they could still be better? Because I think there's a strong possibility they'll be better, depending on who they are.
I don't think there's a strong possibility they'll be better. I think there's a possibility they could be the same and not a big drop-off. I don't really see many possibility of them being a lot better.
Like, if you added Avery Johnson, you don't think they'd be a lot better?
No.
Interesting.
Maybe better, but I wouldn't pick them to win one more game going into the season than I would have with Avery Johnson instead of Nico.
And I'm not saying we know anything. I'm just saying, like, if you look at the starters, like, just somebody who just feels like a great Heupel fit, like Avery Johnson just feels like the perfect type of Heupel guy.
Yeah, no, I don't feel. I tend to agree with your assessment on the floor aspect of it. Of like, I don't necessarily think the sky is falling. I think they'll be able to get somebody that 8-4 is still, very plausible, if not the most likely thing, and 9-3 is in play. I have a little bit of a less likely chance of them getting to 10-2, because I just don't think the supporting cast on offense is very good. And I thought Nico was going to have to take a big jump and carry the offense in some ways. That's maybe a little bit too big of a term. But I think that becomes all the harder when you're talking about getting a guy in here who's not been in the offense and is going to have to build chemistry from June on with receivers. So I would be surprised if they're better off, but I don't necessarily think they're going to be way worse off either.
Yeah, it's still a huge TBD to me. I mean, the one thing I'm doing, Ethan.
Yeah, for sure. And we don't know who the quarterback's going to be, so it's definitely a TBD.
The way that Heupel talked about it, it just feels like it's going to be an open competition. Like, I don't think this is now just Jake's job. I don't think this is a situation like that at all. And I think that was what a lot of fans were running with, was like, it's Jake's show. And it was a great story seeing Jake come out, like, good kid, and he's easy to root for. But it's like, you can't go in with 2 scholarship quarterbacks, and this room being this green. I think I'd bring in 2. And the second one being Gaston Moore. Like, he's still sitting out there. It's time to bring Gas Pipe back in. Like, part of the Nico money.
Eats
what
out,
I'm doing.
We're going with Gas Pipe.
No, not even
Josh
the starter.
Heupel said those words before.
That's true. But bring him back. Like, I would talk him into being like, just, hey, man, we need you for this other year. Like, we got it. Because it's good. It's not just going to help Jake for another year, but it would help the transfer quarterback. As someone who's been in Heupel's system at UCF and here, like, another coach who, like, I think it was Kevin Simon of 991 made a good point of, like, Gaston would be around the quarterback, the transfer guy, more than Halsley or whoever. Like, it's just one of those where the value of someone like Gaston Moore being back for one more year, I think would be a big under the radar deal for Tennessee. And that's something I would do. I agree with Kevin on this, is that I would do whatever it takes to bring Gaston back into that room. And also, I would go big here at the portal. Like, I would go big at the bridge side. And Ethan, I said this, I think in the group chat, but I have maintained that the plan has been Jake versus George versus Faison in an open 3-man competition next year. And I just don't think this group, I don't think the plan is to throw Jake in there right now. I don't think it's a Nico situation where you throw him in as a redshirt freshman like you did Nico. It's not where I think things are going. Because remember, Nico was the backup to Joe. Jake was QB3 a year ago, behind even Gaston. So he did not. This is that's asking a lot to throw Jake into this situation. Because I still think Jake could be a Tennessee starting quarterback for a couple of years and be a good player. But I don't think it's this year that you want to throw him in. I think you want to go big at the portal. And I think if they do, Ethan, I don't know if you're with Ryan or I, but I think there's a path to Tennessee still being really good in 25.
I think there's 2 lines of thought, and it's kind of what we've gone over already. There's the, do you think that Tennessee's ceiling is high enough that you could even, like, say, I mean, like, my perfect quarterback, I think it would be awesome. I don't think this is going to happen, but, you go out there and you get Sam Leavitt from Arizona State, or you go get Avery Johnson, whoever you want to fill in as the perfect guy. How many wins are they going to take you to? Like 9, like Ryan said, 9 or 10. Like, how high do you think the ceiling is? And if you're not able to get that top tier guy, I just scrap it and go with Jake and just see what he can do for 7 and 8 games. Because, like, I just, like Ryan said, there's too much turnover from. I feel like what a lot of people haven't talked about is the offensive line. Dylan Sampson's gone, who was your workhorse from last season. The receivers are not proven. Like, there's an awful lot that you're asking. Even Avery Johnson, say he's to come in. Even him, you're asking a lot for him to come in and say, you got go win 9 games, with this offense. I think that's just going to be really tough. Like
Don Draper.
That's
what the money is for.
it's doable for sure because Nico did it last year, but you don't have Dylan Sampson this year. You're missing some.
But
dudes
Peyton Lewis, I mean, Deshaun Bishop, your guy, Collins legend, Deshaun, and also he's got to be 8, right? I think he posted something on his story with Kobe as 8 over the weekend. I want to say Bishop did that. It's a great story. You got to give Bishop 8.
Yeah, give him 8.
I'd weird running back number.
But
yeah,
I mean, so was 18 though. So.
Yeah, it's just a weird. It really just like we're talking about it now. It just depends on who you're able to go get. If you don't think you're able to go get a home run hit, I just don't see the reason why you put up $2-3 million on top of just letting Jake do his thing. And it's not like if Jake goes out there and he's terrible, I still think Tennessee can win 7 games. Like I don't necessarily think that. I mean, Nico wasn't very good last year. We all hyped him up because he was coming into this next season. He has potential to grow, and the growth was, I think, the most exciting part about this upcoming season, whether or not he could take that step. But Tennessee just wasn't good last year at the quarterback position and the passing game in general. And they went to the college football playoff. So I think the defense is enough to I guess, get this team to 7 wins. I just don't think the offense is all that special. I don't think they're going to be able to go too much higher anyway, unless you're able to get a home run guy. And if you can't get a home run guy, then I just don't really see the point.
I disagree. I'd go get the singular best quarterback you can get, no matter if it's a home run guy or not. Yeah. Or even if it's not a home run guy, you go get the best. You just go down the list one by
I'm throwing money.
One.
Like if you have to throw money.
If you don't have to pay him, I agree with you. If you don't have to pay him $4 million, then sure. But
this is a 1-year college sports is a 1-year venture.
Yes,
you're making a commitment to the kid for 1 year, and you just had $2.5 million of payroll open up. Yeah. I'd spend as much money as possible, or as much money as you have, to get the very best quarterback. And if it doesn't work out, like frankly, I have a hard time thinking it's going to be a whole lot worse than Jake Merklinger if it doesn't work out. And guess what? If it doesn't work out with that guy, and it is worse than Jake Merklinger, he's still on the roster, and you can play him. And Jake Merklinger is not. If you could inject Josh Heupel with truth serum, and when they signed Jake Merklinger, and he asked, "Is he ever going to be your starting quarterback 1 going into the season?" I bet he would have told you no. Which is why I wouldn't knock him for he missed on Jake Merklinger. Jake Merklinger.
Do you think he would have said that about Hendon on April 14th, 2021?
No, probably not.
Yeah.
You've seen it here. You've heard
it. It's all
Jake Merklinger is Hendon Hooker.
I'm just saying, Heupel's been wrong about quarterback. Like, he's been wrong here. I don't know. I think
he's also had a longer look at Jake Merklinger now than he had at Hendon Hooker in April.
I'm not by any means saying that Merklinger is going to come in and win 9 games. I think that's impossible, frankly. I'm not sure what the ceiling of this offense can be with the best. I mean, like who's the guy that you go get that you think is going to do considerably better than what Nico Iamaleava?
But that's the whole thing, is like, we don't know. Like, you get someone worse than Nico. Like, you could absolutely, this could backfire and spend a lot of money, and there's someone worse. Like, you could absolutely be like, they'll be a good fit and we'll pay, and then it's like, oh no, this is not a good fit at all. This is not going well. But it's a chance you have to take, I think, is the point that Ryan's making, and I agree with that, is that the money is now freed up. You have to use that money. I would use more than the money there. I think that also for optics of just like Tennessee, if the optics are Tennessee spent $4 million on a transfer portal quarterback in this market, I think it's just one of those things that just optically is another one where you're like, what a flex by Tennessee nationally. Like, we're not messing around. And the broader point, I've banged this drum here, and that's kind of what I was talking about with Hugh Freeze, of like just this game where you're like, you're doing Peyton Thorne back-to-back years. This is a year-to-year sport now, man. You can't do that. You cannot risk just Jake and George and then maybe Gaston or something, or a low-level transfer who's just coming in as a depth piece. You just can't. But what you can do is, like Jake Merklinger, and still spend a bunch on the transfer portal and be like, hey, we have 2 options now. Like, we like Jake, and if it doesn't work for the portal quarterback, then maybe it'll work for Jake. Because then it increases your odds of like, are we really going to go 0-2 with these 2 throughout the course of the season, or do you want to put all your eggs in the Merklinger basket because of the situation? But I will say there's the locker room component, right, where it seems like Jake's super well liked. He's in the class with Matthews and Staley. I am curious what that looks like, because you also have to manage that. It's like, what is the buy-in in Jake? Do they want to, are they rallying around Jake? They want Jake to get the first opportunity? I don't know. I mean, I think those are all things that we can't know on the outside, but I think 2 things can be true. I think you can like Jake, and I think you can make it an open competition this spring and summer, this summer and early fall, and have him go up against the transfer portal quarterback that you bring in. But that's the nature of college football. Like, they have to understand that. Like, you have to go to Jake and George and be like, look, this is the deal. Like, we have to, the whole team. Like, we have to go and get another transfer portal. We are trying to get back into the college football playoff. We are trying to win a championship every single year. We have an expensive roster. We are trying to win now every year. Like, we have lost 1 home game in the last 3 years. We are trying to keep this positive momentum going year in, year out, because if you have 1 bad year, I mean, the whole thing can come apart. Like, this whole thing can just unravel in a hurry. So I just think you have to give yourself as many different chances to ensure the floor is high, because that's my biggest thing, is you got to keep the floor high. I think every Tennessee fan would be totally fine with 9-3 this year, given the circumstances. 8-4, they wouldn't love it, but they could still understand it. 7-5, 6-6, and you weren't aggressive in the spring portal window here. I don't think fans would stand for that. I think it would get ugly here in the offseason. I think that there'd be real problems. So I think you kind of have to flex here, and I think you kind of have to build off the situation that you're in and go get a big name. I think you have to in this predicament.
Yeah, this reminds me of a point I wanted to make earlier. You've kind of said your concern with Heupel, or one of the concerns is his missed evaluations of quarterback, which is, completely fair. I would say, and this is like, if they don't go get a big guy, this is TBD. My bigger concern would just be like, he just would feel to me slow in handling these things. Ethan said it earlier. There was buzz about Nico transferring. If he was threatening to not play in the playoff, like, you knew this was in play, and it sounds like those negotiations have been going on for a couple of weeks. Like, you should have been very much on top of this. This is a possibility. And as Nico's dad was floating Nico's name to schools on the West Coast, Josh Heupel should have been floating Tennessee football starting quarterback to people in the potential starting quarterbacks in the portal. And I think I will continue to say it was mind-numbing how he handled the receiver room in December, how he seemingly was the only person in the state of Tennessee that didn't think Tennessee needed to massively upgrade a receiver in the portal, and they didn't do it. So if he follows that up by being on his heels about this whole Nico thing and on his heels pursuing another quarterback, to me, that would be a major red flag in how he's able to navigate this world of free agency every single offseason and anticipating what your needs are going to be in the portal and getting ahead of it.
Because this is not a problem for Barnes, Vitello, and even Kim Caldwell to this point.
No, it's not. And they might not execute every time. I mean,
yeah.
Tennessee basketball they missed on Isaac McNeely, and
but it feels like they're aggressive and have a plan. It feels like
they have a plan.
Yeah.
There were a number of names circled before the season had ended of guys that they wanted. Even
it just feels like they're aggressive. It feels like they are on a mission. Like, it just feels like you don't have to worry about Tennessee basketball and baseball. Like, they've got a plan. It may not always work out. I mean, Ozuna did not work out the way they wanted to. I mean, there are certain things. I mean, things happen. Like Chase Burns situation. Like, things happen that are unexpected, but it just feels like they're just. I don't know how to explain it.
They never feel under heels. They
Yes.
never feel under heels. And with the receiver stuff, Tennessee football and Heupel felt very much under heels. And I won't say that feels that way right now with Nico. I think that's just TBD and like a larger concern that I'm watching also with this very micro situation of who's Tennessee's quarterback is going to be in 25.
I agree. Ethan, so we kind of touched on basketball here a little bit. Your next desired Vols Hoop portal edition, based on the recent movement of guys who have committed here in the last week since we recorded, who do you have your eye on? Who would be your next desired name here?
Well, this is an obvious answer just because of where Tennessee's roster is right now. I mean, it's going to be Rodney Rice for one. That he's the top shooting guard available in the portal. Tennessee is in desperate need of ball handlers at the moment, with Gillespie and Bishop Boswell being kind of the only guys, maybe Amari Evans. And, that's not a winning combination. All respect to Bishop Boswell and Amari Evans. Like, you got to get...
And Ethan likes the guy.
Yeah, I like the guy. I like him. I like Bishop Boswell. But
Bishop's a huge question mark to me. I just can't do it. I don't know. Like, Bishop Boswell, he's a huge unknown. I know he's going to be good on defense. Like, that's the one known. I know Bishop Boswell is going to be a good on-ball defender. Like, I know that is going to be a staple of his game. He didn't look at the rim this year. Like, I don't even know what he looks like shooting-wise, like, at all.
There's part of me that thinks that Rick is just like, look, if you even think about looking at the rim, you're going.
Yeah, it's like you're focused when you go in. Like, you are defense only, sir.
If there are more than 5 seconds on the shot clock, it better not even cross your mind. that's what
that ball is moving.
Playing like this past season. And for what it's worth, I do like Bishop Boswell. I don't think he's what you need to be going after for a starting shooting guard or a combo guard moving into next season. And that's why Rodney Rice, I feel like, is so important. Obviously, Villanova has a huge offer out for him, reportedly, and he's going to visit USC and Eric Musselman, I believe, next week. So Tennessee, obviously a major player. everyone you see online says they feel good about him, but you said the same thing about Isaac Manili. And the Vols need to get another shooter. It would be fantastic to have specifically Rice just because of the chemistry that he had with Gillespie. That's automatic transfer right there. I mean, they're one of the better backcourts in the nation last season at Maryland. They had a really, really good team, and obviously that would, I feel like, translate into this coming season. And the Vols front court right now is I'm as close to set in stone, I feel like, as you can get. You get Jalen Carey, you got Estrella with his question marks coming forward, obviously, but you got Mogpar, you got the guys that you want set in place. I don't feel like you have that set in place in the backcourt right now. And look, guys, if you miss out on Rice, there's a lot of nobody. Like, there's a lot of nobody right now in the portal to go get. And you hope someone enters, maybe that is kind of a bigger name that you could go after, but it's Rice and then a lot of other dudes that you just never really heard of before that aren't going to move the needle as much as Rice would. So he needs to be the absolute major target, and obviously he is. That's what Barnes and company are pushing for right now.
It is a little concerning, though. He did the whole orange and white day, and then he was there for the weekend, and he got out of there, and then he's still scheduling visits with USC. That's got to be because Tennessee. He has leverage with Tennessee right now. Tennessee needs Rodney Rice in a major way because there's just not a lot of options right now. Because BYU needs to calm down. We need schools like BYU to calm it down here. Texas Tech, calm down. Will Warren made a great point last week on this program where he was like, I think he said, Tennessee should do, whenever Texas Tech is in the mix for a player, that's someone who Tennessee should go after. They're right about it. Follow who Texas Tech is rumored to be linked with and go get that player because it's probably the right idea. And it's a great way of following it. But I do think they don't really have an alternative. And it's the Rodney Rice thing seems like it's going to draw out a little bit. But then again, it's guys have time. Someone else can enter the portal or whatever. Tennessee's got money to throw around here. We still don't know what's going to happen with Nate Ament. We don't know what's going to happen with Elijah Freeman.
Those are different positions. That's my thing.
I mean,
that's a separate conversation.
Yeah,
it is. Yeah.
What?
That's a separate conversation to me.
Yeah. Well, what I'm saying is those are all I'm talking about just the broader picture of there are things. There's a lot of juggling in terms of money and what is this roster going to ultimately be filled in with. Yes. It's very different if you're we get a yes from Rodney Rice, Nate Ament, and Elijah Freeman in a matter of a week, and we're okay, this roster got very expensive in a hurry. There's just different. I don't know. It's interesting because the dominoes, you don't know which order these are going to fall and what the order of operations is for Tennessee of okay, we need to make sure this guy gets in the boat first, and then we'll go here, and then we'll go here. And then you're also talking to these guys of hey, we need to close here, or we are interested in you, but we have to see what this person said. There's just, it's got to be an incredibly stressful situation right now because Tennessee's got the first big fish in the boat in Gillespie. They've, Ethan said, front court's done. The fact that what's the kid's name from Robert Morris? He's not in the mix anymore. That tells you everything you need to know. Tennessee is we're good, everyone's staying, we're okay here. But they still have some questions here, and I think Rodney Rice, the fact that he got out of here this weekend without a commitment is you're a little nervous if you're Tennessee right now, I think, because there's just not a realistic fallback option right now.
Yeah, undoubtedly. And that's what I would be a little critical of them. On the wing, to me, I think that they've done a great job of it. So you got two names, Nate Ament, Elijah Freeman. I'm very skeptical they're going to get both of them. I would think they're probably both takes, but I just don't think that's going to happen. And it feels like you kind of, all right, you have your two guys there. They've a little bit slow played Elijah Freeman. At least they haven't been pushing for him hard as they try to wait for an answer on Nate Ament. Whereas in the backcourt, and I get it. There's going to be a contingent that'd be all right, why are you not going after what's the Sam Houston State kid? Wilkerson, I think, is visiting Kentucky tomorrow. Yeah. Or some bigger names like that. To me, I'm well, that becomes really tough of trying to, you're selling this to top line shooting guards. It's hard to recruit two at one time for really essentially one starting spot. But you do have a backup spot. You still need to, even if you get Rodney Rice, you need to add another guard, in my opinion, to the roster. A bench guard, not a guy you're going to spend a ton of money on. So I guess I'm more confused as to And look, maybe I just don't know about it. Maybe that just name's just not out there. Maybe they are having conversations and they're keeping guys in the back burners, and it's just not public knowledge to this point. But I think the fact that they aren't linked to more low-level guards to immediately have a backup plan if Rice goes elsewhere, like that's where I would be a little bit critical of them. And again, maybe they're doing that, and I just don't know. That's a possibility for sure. And that just doesn't seem like that would be overly difficult to do, given, in my estimation of the roster, they still have two guard spots they're trying to add in the portal.
But I'm just not going to doubt them until it's over. Like I'm going to lean towards it's going to be fine. I think they're going to close on what they need to. That's my gut. I'm going to say they get Rice and Freeman and not Ament. I think
I was just about to say exactly what you said, Chase. If you had to ask me, I would assume that Rice is probably coming to Tennessee. It feels like just the best option for him. I mean, I'm not going to put myself in. I'm not going to say I know what Rodney Rice is thinking right now, but just from he said in interviews he wants to win. Rick Barnes in Tennessee, or early new head coach at Villanova, a team that hasn't been good in 5 years. That right there is big. Plus the fact that obviously, like I've said before, he has the obvious chemistry with Gillespie. So from a fan perspective, from our perspective, it definitely seems like Rice is going to be leaning Tennessee.
Yeah, we'll see. Hopefully, good news. When is Ament supposed to announce? Do we know?
He hasn't announced anything that I've seen.
Final thing here. Ethan Stone, baseball guy, was locked in over the weekend on Vols baseball. We almost had to get him to turn it off because I don't it was one of those where it's like, oh no, Ethan.
I will say I didn't watch on Saturday. I was doing something with my family on Saturday.
You're locking yourself in every weekend, sir. So the sod's got to go.
Tennessee
baseball first.
Obviously wins the series. I'm 2-0 as a Tennessee baseball watcher this year. So
that's great.
5 games, but still.
Well, what was your biggest takeaway this weekend, Ethan?
I'll give you my biggest takeaway was Liam Doyle. He was a lot of fun on Friday. That was awesome, seeing him against his former team and just progressively getting more excited as the game went on. That was awesome to see. And that was just, look, I like I've said, I don't know baseball that much this season. I love baseball. I don't know much about the team. Watching that was a fantastic first game to watch, Tennessee and Ole Miss on Friday. That was so much fun. And Sunday was in a similar vein. I'd say it was just not exactly high level stuff from Tennessee, but they crawled it out, they gritted it out, and they got the win. And 2 of the better games I feel like I don't know about the season, but that Friday and Sunday games, those are both riveting, exciting, close games. And despite the fact that Tennessee's offense wasn't exactly playing at the level they have been all season, they were able to get out the win, and that's massive for a team like Tennessee, obviously.
What about you, Brian?
Yeah, you can go in a number of directions. I think just the most broad strokes, and I tweeted about this, really good sign that Tennessee was able to bounce back from a bad A&M series and go on the road and win against a top 10 Ole Miss team. Especially when they weren't at their best. At the same time, the defense, it's just got to be cleaned up. It was just so bad in the final 2 games. And look, Tennessee's infield defense was pretty bad for large parts of last season. Even in Omaha, it was pretty bad. But they were so talented that they could overcome that.
Yeah.
I don't think they're talented enough to overcome that and definitely not win the national championship. It's probably shaky whether they can overcome that and make it back to Omaha. So that has to be cleaned up. A more micro level, there's a number of different directions you can go, but I'll just say, nice to have Gavin Keelan back. That bat is, you thought, all right, he's been out of the lineup for a little bit. He might, skip a beat. Billy Ament got back last year, and it took him a little bit to get back in the groove. Did not take Gavin Keelan any time. He was just fantastic all weekend and hilarious watching him leg out to his hamstring clearly.
You're saying hilarious. I kept I don't know, the way the stop and start, I'm not sure this is better. And then the close plays where he the athlete instincts kick in where he's like, no, I got to go 100 miles an hour here. And you're like, I don't like it. I'll tell you that, Ryan Schumpert. I hate it. Like, this weekend was terrible watching Gavin Keelan run and try to decide in the moment. And they're on the broadcast, like, they have a plan of, like, the start. I'm like, this is the plan? Like, the start and stop on, like, everything. It was like, he's got to stop hitting ground balls. Like, no ground balls for Gavin. Like, that cannot happen.
There was one I think he hit into the shift. So it was
Yes.
like a really deep play in the second. And it was
Yes.
like, all right, this would probably be a really bang play. And he was just walking. He got like halfway up the line, saw the guy got it, and he just stopped running. And he was walking to the base just in case there was like an error. But he might as well have just turned around and started walking back to the dugout. But to your point, I mean, there were the 2 plays in the 6th inning, 2 outs, kind of a similar one. He hit it hard into the shift. The guy kind of knocks it down, and he is fighting to get down the line. And then the wild pitch when he's on third and he's trying to score. Take my hammy,
Gavin Keelan. Like, I'm over here on my couch. Take mine. Like, he's your best hitter. He's your best player. And I'm like, I don't know. I will say though, it's gotten some. I mean, Andrew Fisher was awesome this weekend. Reese Chapman, a all-time great Vol moment here out of nowhere on the top of the 9th to give Tennessee the victory. But I mean, the 2 biggest things that I wonder about here is that, one, I have no idea what the best lineup construction is anymore. Like, we're all over the place here. Jack's adamant. He doesn't want Dean Curley in the 1 hole anymore. It was not a good weekend for Curley as a whole. Like, Curley is still super talented, but the combination of his struggles at the plate plus the defensive issues, it was just a tough weekend for Curley. But I also I'm like, Ariel didn't have a great weekend in the field. And obviously, I mean, he had 3 sacrifice bunts. I think I joked in the chat. I'm like, you can't do this. Like, 3 sacrifice bunts in one game by one player. Just can't do it. Like, that's just, I can't. For my viewing pleasure, can't do it. I can't watch Ariel lay 3 bunts here. But you look around, I'm like, I just don't know what the best construction of this lineup is. Like, I think that is a huge question. And then Marcus Phillips got lit up a little bit here in back-to-back weeks now, and AJ is looming over the weekend. Tegan Kuhns, I think, had a better outing. I think Tegan, it was just more defensive issues behind him. A lot of it really wasn't Tegan Kuhn's fault, and I thought still a lot of swing and miss stuff. He's still going to be a high K guy. Like, he has really filthy stuff. I mean, I kind of wonder, like, when do we see AJ this weekend in the rotation? I kind of wonder if you have to be so careful with this, but it's also like, I don't know. The bullpen's still kind of shaky right now, and AJ is just, if he's ready to go, man, like, you've got to get AJ in there, because like you said, it's kind of like the whole talent thing to me, where I'm like, I just don't think you have the offense that you did a year ago to get by in a way that you did when things just did not go right for AJ Combs AJ Causey and Stamos out of the gate, where you're like, oh, we can go in a little bit of a hole here early. The offense can bring us back. I don't think you really have that with this offense right now. But that being said, it was a great win, gritty win on Sunday, where you kind of had to score a lot and had to get some late offense, and you were able to do that. But I don't know. Those are the 2 biggest questions I have right now. Is that fair?
Yeah, I think the pitching it's just construction on both sides. I was going to say pitching construction, and your other point was lineup construction, and I think that's fair too. I'm just not worried about it as much, and maybe I'm just not a lineup head of just like reading a ton into it. Like, it's going to be variations that are pretty similar.
But I even talk about like the guys who are in. Like, I don't know who, like, Ariel had it set up, but I'm like, I think Ariel's probably out this weekend. Like, I don't know. Like, is it?
I've been saying this for a while now. The bottom, it's just going to be right to hot hand. They're not going to find a 9 this year. Yeah. I don't think it's going to be right. You got about. But do you try
Jay at the top? Do you try Jay at leadoff?
No, I wouldn't. I mean,
I would. I would try Jay.
To me, then I think that's where I just said it's going to be variations of things. Then all of a sudden you're just throwing a wrench in it. You're throwing a guy that's not an everyday starter as the leadoff guy. Yeah. I think that's reinventing the wheel and trying to just do too much. Pitching wise, yeah, I mean, I completely agree. It's a huge question. I mean, it's just, and it's not even necessarily specific to like, oh, Marcus Phillips struggled, so do you trust him in a weekend starter? It's more that AJ Russell's looming. What makes the most sense? I do think we see him this weekend against Kentucky. I'm not sure what that role is. I would lean towards like an opener, and I would lean more towards it being Sunday. I think they will give Marcus Phillips another crack at it. And I would even go to say, I don't think Marcus Phillips at A&M against A&M was awful. He gave up 2 solo homers. In those first 3 or 4 innings, he was pretty good besides those solo homers. There wasn't a whole lot of traffic, and then things kind of spiraled on him. Obviously, a very bad outing at Ole Miss, by far his worst of the season. I don't think they'll go and make a move this early away from him. But when you talk about long-term, I definitely think it's in play that he's the one that falls to the bullpen. But the whole pitching situation and the bullpen as a whole and the inconsistencies and where you put Russell that makes the most sense, it's all very up in the air. And I don't have any strong opinions on it just because it's just very much in flux.
He's just got to be he's got to be a starter. We got to do this. Even if you only give him a couple innings, like you said, as an opener to start out to ease him into it, I just think the training wheels have to come off. Either he's in or he's out. We're here in mid-April. It's just
there's a middle ground to that too.
We don't
pitch
do
him in the
nuance on this
bullpen.
podcast. We don't do nuance.
I agree with you, but you can come in the bullpen and pitch a lot of really big innings. Yeah. That's in between that. But I tend to agree that starter makes the most sense.
Okay. Ethan Stone, what can the good folks check out from you and the team over at SaturdayDownSouth.com this week?
Yeah, a lot of the same stuff. It's going to be we did a lot of traffic on obviously the Nico drama this past week, so we're probably going to be hitting that a little more.
Did you see this?
Week.
Did you hear about this?
Hear about this? We'll be doing that. A lot of SEC baseball and softball on Saturday Down South, obviously, and Saturday Tradition as well.
There you go. Ryan Schumpert, what about you over at RockyTopInsider.com?
There's this guy, Nico Iamaleava. I don't know if anybody's heard about him, but he's transferring away from Tennessee. So we'll have a ton of coverage on the fallout of that in Tennessee's hunt for a new quarterback this week. We'll be on top of everything going on with Tennessee basketball in the transfer portal, and then Tennessee baseball rolls on. I think they have Bellarmine tomorrow night. I'll be curious to see what A.J. Russell's role is. I think they're going to – my best guess is they'll throw – when somebody gets into a jam, they'll throw A.J. Russell in. I think they want to have a little more game pressure because when he's pitching in games, it has not really been that. So coverage of that, and then the Wildcats of Kentucky come to Knoxville this weekend. So full coverage of that series as well.
I love it. Ryan Schumpert, Ethan Stone, always a pleasure, and I'll talk to y'all next week.
Nicely done, nephew. The Chase Thomas Podcast. Hell yeah.